All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this tutorial. In this tutorial, we're going to take one of my formerly Pixel Cartoon Animator 4 characters and upgrade it to a vector character from scratch. Simply what we're going to do is take this character, our Kitten, and make it a vector and show you the process with that so that it can be crisp and clean no matter what size you use it at. And this is going to teach you how to create a custom character versus the human template character. So if you go into Cartoon Animator, create new character, and you do human, SVG, it's going to give you this template. And this template works great for humans. But with this character, it's a little bit more custom. And I'm going to show you how I do it. There's two different ways that you can approach this. One way is to organize it all here in Illustrator, which works. It does work. However, I find that a lot more tedious than just exporting it all and doing it in Cartoon Animator. So with that said, the first step you're going to take, and if you do want to follow along and do this step, there's a link in the description on how you can get these files, this character files. The first step we need to take is to get all the different parts exported, and it's an easy step, and you can do this with any character. You can go to Free Pick or Adobe Stock Photo, and you can get different characters there and just split it up and do it this way. But the important thing to do when you're doing this is when you get your file all ready, you need to have an individual folder for every part. So I have whiskers, I have eyebrow right, whiskers left, eyebrow left, I have blush left, blush right, and they're all named here. And they're all under the main layer in the Illustrator file. That's important that they're all under there. So everything I want, from the different mouth sprites to different eyes, are all in this one spot. And then once I have them all here, you're going to go over to your window menu, asset export, and that's what this is here. I'm going to go ahead and delete all that. And you're going to do Control A to select everything. What that does is it selects everything over here in the layers. If you're not familiar with Illustrator, just go to Window Layers if it's not there. And then once that's there, I'm going to click this Generate Multiple Assets from the selection. And what that does is it just takes all of these and it's going to allow me to export them all individually. And that's why you need to put it under the main layer in their own groups or separate layer itself. Now, once I'm here, it's important that we export this in the proper SVG format. So you most likely won't have SVG. If you do, that's fine, but let's make sure it's the correct export settings. So first we're going to hit this Launch Export for Screens dialog. We're going to hit this gear icon right here. And we're going to make sure our SVG is set up as follows. Presentation attributes, convert to outlines, embed layer names to, and just keep those off. Because those are now good to go, when you select this here, it will export correctly. So you're going to hit export. I'm going to choose a folder and hit select folder, and it'll export all those assets. I already did that. Again, follow the link in the description below to see how you can get access to these. And here they are, all separate. Now, you probably won't see, if you're using Windows 10, I'm not sure if 11 has this, you probably won't see thumbnails, and that's really annoying. So what you want to do is you want to go to the Microsoft Store. Okay, and you want to search PowerToys. And what PowerToys does is a lot of different things, but let me just show you the one that is important here. With PowerToys, it's this one right here. It's free. It's got a lot of good reviews. Go ahead and download Microsoft PowerToys in the store. And what that does is it allows you to, let me see if I can pull it up here. Go over to the File Explorer add-ons, okay, here under Settings. So if you don't see this, you want to go to Settings, File Explorer add-ons, and just make sure you turn on SVG and SVG down here. And that allows Windows to see SVGs and do thumbnails. It's really annoying if you don't have this because it's just hard to work with when you're just seeing file icons. So the next step we need to make sure we have is a reference image. Reference images are super important, so we're putting things in the proper place. So I'm going to turn this muzzle off. I'll show you what that is later. And I'm going to export this as a reference image by going File, Export. I save for web under a PNG, but in the Illustrator beta, it's not working. So I'm going to do File, Export as PNG I'm not going to use the artboards, and I'm just going to call it reference, and I'm going to hit export. I already did that, so that's there. So now that we have the reference image and all of our individual SVG images, what we can do, in fact, I should probably export that as an SVG so the system knows it's a SVG. So let's make sure that that's an SVG, reference SVG. I shouldn't do a PNG. I just, with certain software, you just never know. So I'm going to make sure it's an SVG reference and hit export. And keep those all as they are. Okay. So now if I go over to my folder here, there's my reference. I'm going to move it back to where it should be because I accidentally saved in there. Okay, great. There it is. So now I have my reference. I'm going to delete my PNG one. And I'm going to delete those. Great. So I have my reference image. Forgive me while I turn off this noisy background noise. All right, the next step, now that we've got our reference image, is going to go to Cartoon Animator. Make sure you're in a new project. Okay. And you're going to drag that reference image into here, BoneCharacter. What that does is it gives us a root. Now, if I go to the Bone tool in the composer mode and I try to move this root, it should let me move it. If it doesn't, and it moves this as well, this image, all you have to do is add a bone, click, escape, and then you can move this, and then you can just delete that bone and delete. And that way, the important thing is to move the root down to where you want this character to pivot. And then here it's the center of the cat's body here, sitting down, and that's the root position. So just be sure you have that root bone in the right position, as that will allow this kitty cat to pivot. And if you need to do that workaround, you just add a bone, move the root, and then remove that bone. Now that we've got the root in the position that we want, we just need to start adding bones. Now this is our reference image, and so we're just going to use it to put the bones in the proper place. I'm going to hit add a bone. I always start in the center of the hip, so let's just come right here, click, and then I'm going to just click and then escape. And I'll show you why I don't do that next bone yet. This is the right leg. I'm going to click back on the main bone here, add a bone, click, escape. Now this is a good spot to introduce you, if you have not already visited, introduce you to the Facebook group. We have a growing Facebook group where we are all enjoying each other's company, and we can ask questions, share, as well as if you go to Facebook and do cartoon, I'll put a link in the description. You definitely join here. I am there. Many great users are there. It's the Cartoon Animator user group. It's growing exponentially. Also, you're going to want to go to Reallusion's feedback. Let me see if I have it open. I don't. So feedback, it's the feedback tracker. And make sure you come in here and give your votes. You have a number of votes, but just come in here and look around and see what people are trying to get Reallusion to change, fix, do, support, and more. So those are two very useful resources. Be also sure to like and subscribe in our channel here to get notified of new updates and different content that's coming out. All right, so in order to rename these bones, it's important that you rename the bones because it might be obvious, common sense. You want to be able to move them around when you're animating, and if they're not named, it's a nightmare. So after you've created a few bones, I'll just show you now, but we'll go back and do this later once we've got all the bones. You just switch from your layer to your scene, and then you can double click on these. I'm going to call this the hip, and this is going to be leg right, and this is going to be leg left. Okay, and then you go back to layer manager, click back on the hip, bone editor. I'm on the hip, add a bone. Let's go torso. So torso, neck, head, escape. And so we've got our torso bone, our neck bone, and our head bone. So let's go ahead and rename those. So this is going to be torso. This is going to be neck, and this is going to be head. Again, it's super important that we name these properly. Go back to my layer. Now that we've got those, let's go ahead and add on our main hip bone another bone. It's going to be like a star here for our tail. You see this tail here? I'm going to put the center of the tail right there. Escape, click, scene, tail. Okay, back on my hip. Now we need our forearms. So add a bone. I'm going to put one here. Escape, click back on the hip, add a bone, click here, escape. Going to click on this one, scene. We're going to do, so we have arm right, arm left, good to go. All right, so we've got our main bones down, so I can go ahead and get started on putting in the SVG sprites. To do that, I'm going to close the bone editor or just come over and click on a bone. Let's start with the hip bone. We still have a root bone here, and if you look, if I click on the, so let's click on a bone and go over and hit the sprite editor or hit S. Right now there's no images on the hip bone, but if I click on the root bone, you see our reference image, and that's important that that stays there while we work on these other bones. So now I'm going to click back on the hip bone. You can also do it here. You know, click on different ones. So I'm going to click on the hip bone. I'm going to add an image. I'm going to go navigate to my parts that I had. I'm going to open this up a little bit more. And this is why I like the visual, and I look for the body. Okay, so there's my body.svg add. And I'm just going to go ahead and drag it right over where that should be. Now I like, if you're on the layer manager here, I like to move the hip, or excuse me, the root to the bottom of all the layers so that I can just slowly build. But in this case, I can't see those legs, so I'm going to go ahead and move this up and just work with it backwards. So now it's behind. And as long as I'm matching it, I'm going to shrink it a little bit. It does come in different size sometimes. Boom, there's my hip bone. So now I'm going to go over and click on this leg right here. I'm in the sprite editor. I'm just going from bone to bone. I'm adding physical components to those bones. Just think of it as adding muscles to the bones. So I'm going to click on that right leg. If I come in here, you can see on the scene manager, I'm on leg right. You can also do that here. No image, add. I'm going to look for that right leg. I think I called it hind leg right. There it is. Okay. I'm going to drag it into place. And now that I have that leg in place, I'm going to click on this bone, go to the bone editor. I'm going to, because I'm on the right leg bone, I'm going to add another bone, and I'm going to go like that. Escape. Now this is a custom character. It's a lot different from one that has all these different aspects that you can work through, and I have tutorials on those. So now I'm going to put foot, or let's say paw right. Okay, so now I have the right paw, and let's go back to the sprite editor. I'm on the right paw here. Add an image. Hind paw right. I'm just going to put it into where it should be. Boom. Now if I want to fix that bone, I need to go back to the bone editor. If I want to move it, and then move the bone. If you move it otherwise, it'll move everything. Okay. I'm going to put it right there in the center. That looks nice. So I have that. Now if I came in just to kind of give you an idea, and I turned off my root, that's what we have so far. Okay. So we just got to keep putting stuff in their places. So I'm going to turn it back on. I'm going to go to my next leg left. I'm going to go to the sprite editor. I'm on the leg left. If you want to make sure, you can come in here and click on it. And I'm going to add my leg left. And I do encourage you to do this, go through this process, because it's going to teach you. Where's my leg left? Now you're going to see a whole bunch of legs here because, oh, I know what I did. I need to add that. You don't need to worry about this, but I forgot to add it in the last one. And so I did it here. Just bear with me. This will be in the file. In fact, I'll just go do that now since I'm here. Essentially what you can do is if you forget something, because it's the exact same thing as this leg, but it's flipped, you can open this with Illustrator. And then you just go Control A for select everything, object, transform, reflect, make sure it's vertical, hit OK, file, export as SVG, use artboards, and let's just name it hind leg left. Did not mean to hit all those keys at the same time. I'm in the right folder. Boom. All the attributes are good. All the properties good. So now I should see it right here. Excuse me. So now I should see, where is it? Hind leg left. There it is. Jeez. And I'm just going to move that into its position. Okay. Now, this kitty is sitting a little bit differently, so I'm going to go ahead and take liberty as the artist and just do that. And I'm going to put it right about, where is it? There it is, here. Okay. Now, if I want to edit that bone, I'm going to click the bone editor. Make sure I click on this bone, add a bone, bada bing. Escape, click on that bone. Sprite editor. If you're unsure, you can come click on it here. I need to rename that, so I'm just going to double click it. This is going to be paw left. Now that's the opposite because we're staring at it, right? It's paw left. Add, and let's go ahead and find the paw left, which is this one. And let's go ahead and put it right there. So now if I go to the layer manager and I turn off the, now we're looking like we have more of a cat. Next step is we're going to get those front legs. So let's go ahead and click on that bone. We're on the sprite editor. If you're unsure, go to the scene manager and just click on arm right. That should be forearm right or front leg right, but I'll just call it arm right. In fact, let's just do front arm right just to kind of not confuse this. Front arm left. There we go. Now I want to make sure I'm on the sprite, the bone, excuse me, that end bone, not this one, the end bone. Add, and we're on the front arm right. I'm just visually looking. You can do this alphabetically. So it's this one, okay? And the cool thing about this, there's a lot of different things you can do with this. This is just how I designed it, and we'll go through that as we do the animations. I'll show you why I designed it this way. So there's that one. Now you'll notice on the layer manager, if I come here, here's our root, here's our hip, here's our hip leg, excuse me, our leg right, leg left, paw right, paw left, and here's our front arm, and it's on the layer manager. It's above this, so it shows in front of it. That's important that they're layered right. So if it was here, we'd want to move it, right? Because it's behind there. So we want to move it to the top there on the layer manager and just put it in its place. Now let's continue by going to where I'm on this sprite still, this bone point. I'm going to go back to the, I need to get that away from Illustrator. It's confusing me. The bone editor. I'm going to add another bone since I'm on that one, and then I don't have to click on it again. If you do, you'll add another bone. You don't want to do that, so that's why you click on it first. And let's go down to here, center of that paw. Great, so there's that one. Now I'm going to click on this bone, front arm left, and I'm going to go to the sprite editor. I am on front arm left, and I'm going to add an image, and I'm going to do this way. Put it in its place. If you don't like the position of the bone, you're just going to go back to bone editor, move the bone around. The important thing is if you ever get a gray bone, you need to be able to, the bone must be touching the sprite that's assigned to it, or it'll go gray. It doesn't have to. There's reasons why you don't. Like if you had a hanger, a visible hanger, you'd put a bone out here, and I'll show you that in another sequence where you can like create a rag doll or something like that. But when you're working with this, make sure if let me just give you an example. If I go like this and I click off, see how it's gray? If I go back over the sprite and now it's yellow, that means it's over the image, and that's important to when you're working through this. So I'm going to click on that, add a bone, go down to the center of this paw right about there, escape. So we have the forelegs, the hind legs, and great. Now let's get that tail in there. Now if I go back to the hip and I'm like, which one's my tail? I know it's that one, but in case you get lost, you just come in here and click on tail, and that's what we renamed it. Now this I'm gonna do front paw right, and this one front paw left. And while I'm here, I might as well call this hind leg right, and then hind leg left, and then this is going to be hind, oops, double clicking, oops, that doesn't like that, hind paw right, enter, double click, hind paw left. Great. renamed. Now, in previous versions, things would crash all the time, so I'm just going to take advantage of this and just kind of teach you my method. I've done a little bit of work here, like at least 15, 20 minutes. I'm going to go to File and just save this character as it is. I'm going to go put it in the same folder, animation kittens rigged. And we're going to call this one front kitten, because it's a front-facing kitten, V-V1. And I do that just every now and then. Cartoon Animator 5 does have a cool save function, but I don't trust software that's been buggy. And so I just do that. Now, save object profile we'll do after we add more bones. But that save character did it for us. So we just saved all of our work. All right, we're moving right along. Now, let's get that tail in, then I'm going to show you how I put the other legs in. So let's go ahead and click on that tail. You can click on it here as well. And then we need to go over to the sprite tool. Add a sprite for the tail, find the tail sprite. So you can add as many as you want, and I'll show you that in a minute. This is really fun. So I'm going to move it into the reference position, and you'll notice I need to move that bone a little bit. So I'm going to go back to the bone editor, click on the tail bone, and I want it right in the center there. That's where it'll pivot. But the problem is it's in front of everything. We want it behind everything. So we're going to go to the layer manager, tail, and these go all the way under the hip. Boom. Now, if I turn off my root reference, that's how we are. And I could also hit preview, and but we need to add some bones to make that tail a little more flexible. So turn off preview mode, turn back on my reference image, and let's finish that tail. So I'm going to go back to the scene, click on my tail. I'm on the bone editor. I'm on that tail nub bone. I'm going to click add bone. I'm just going to trace this tail, keeping in mind, like, I want this to be somewhat flexible. Escape. So now I have all these tail bones, okay? So if I come back over here, I know these are all the tail, but I'm going to call this tail 1, tail 2, just so I know which one I'm working with when we start animating this. Tail 4, tail 5, tail 6. Beautiful. Okay, so now we have the tail. I'm going to go ahead and just go File, Save Character. I know I just saved this other one as that. I'm going to replace it, and we're good to go. All right, so now we have the tail. So now if I hit preview, we have this tail. The reason the other one is there, it's the reference image. Now I want you to note, as I bend this, you'll see like these little sharp points. If I zoom in, I'm not liking those sharp points. This is a vector program. I want it to be a little bit smoother. How do we get that smoother? So let's turn off preview. Let's go into our layer manager. Let's turn off our root reference image. And now that I'm in the bone editor, I want to click show wireframe. Now I like to do affect all layers rather than just one, but if you need to like detail one of them, you just keep that off. I'm just going to affect them all. And this is where we play around a little bit with the subdivisions and the wireframes, because usually this is minimized like that. Now you can play around these things. I just usually keep it on mask, and then my density, let's show you what that does. If I turn this way up, just bear with me here, there will be timestamps. Look at the density. See how the density increased? And if I just did my expansion all the way up, let me just show you what that does. And I hit preview. If I zoom in, and to zoom in, I'm holding down Alt. Sorry, I didn't explain this. And I'm clicking both left and right mouse buttons. And then if I just hold down Alt, I'm just holding down Alt the whole time and just click left click. So both left and right clicks, just left click, okay? That's how you navigate around holding down the Alt key. Now, if I click on this, I'm in preview mode, so it's going to show me what it looks like. You see the wireframe there, right? So if I go backwards, it's nice and sharp. So what I want to try to do is make it smooth. So I'm going to turn off the preview and turn down my density quite a bit. And my expansion, I don't want it to be that expanded. I kind of want it to be less blocky. And so let's see, what does alignment do? Alignment, ooh, interesting. So let's go ahead and preview that. And again, just get used to this. Each character will be a little bit different. You could do different tails. So that's interesting, but I'm getting a strange effect, and I don't like that at all. So let's go ahead and turn that off. I'm going to put alignment back down to 0. And now if I hit preview, and again, this is me being OCD as an artist. that's much smoother. I like that a lot because I'm not getting that crisp bend. So I'm going to expand it just a little, maybe to 3, and you could just use this here. And I'm happy with that. Okay, so I'm going to zoom back out, Alt, left and right click, and then just Alt, left click. Okay, and let's continue. Turn back on my root reference image. I'm on the bone editor. I'm going to turn off wireframe. All right, and we might have to go back and fix it for the new pieces. So before we get to the head, I like to finish everything on the body because that's kind of the easiest part. The head's a little bit different. Let's just make sure that we go in and we add our other legs. So this hind leg, when it goes up and it licks it, I'm going to add that. To do that, we go to the hind leg left, sprite editor, and here's our normal one, but we're going to add a new one. So not replace, but add a new element. And this time we're going to do hind leg up. Okay, and I've already placed it in the art. There it is. And that's just kind of how it's going to work. And I'll show you how that works when we animate, because this is another option. So when you're in animating, you can switch between these two different legs. Okay, and I'll show you that. All right, cool. Now we need to do a couple more. So I'm going to go to this front arm. If you go into the folder, you're going to see there's the leg up we just did. There's the leg, the leg down that's normal resting, but we want a front leg up so it can jump, and those are those. And then we have the standing one here where it's just standing up, and I'll show you that. So we're going to do the stand and the leg up on this one. So we're going to click here, going to add another one, and we're going to add, let's first add the left standing. Okay, and I'm just going to leave it like that and just kind of put it there. Actually, you know what? Let me go double check how I did this. And when I design this, I design as needed. You can add more and more components as you need them. You don't have to do this all at the same time. So I'm going to hit A. I'm just going to turn off some of my paws so I can kind of see and show you what we're going for here. Those are the fronts. That's the hind leg paw up. And so let's go ahead and get that hind leg paw up, this one right here. So let's go back into here, and I'm going to go click here. No, it's a paw. So I'm going to go to the paw group. I'm going to add another position, and that's this one. And that's here, and I'll show you what that looks like in just a minute. Actually, let me just show you. So if I come in here, I turn off the reference image, and I come in to, well, there it is. It's paw up, right? So you can actually see it right there. I don't think I need to explain further. All right, so carrying on that paw, it's missing that one, but that's because we switched from this to this. Different positions for that hind leg paw. So now let's go back into Illustrator and see what else we have hiding behind her. What paw is this one? This one is paw up right. So I'm going to go into here, and that's this one. Add, and I want paw up right. Where are you? Elemental P. There it is. Open. Boom. And I'm going to put it right here. And the reason it's not on these bones is because it's a different position. Well, I kind of like to keep the bone, let's just go like this. So it's there. And then if we need to move it, we'll move it. Great. There it is. So I'm going to go back to the default, and same on this one. I'm going to go back to the default. And let's go see what else we are missing. This is just going through, and I actually added these as I needed them in different animations. So you're seeing them all at the same time. So we've done the hind leg. Let's turn that off. We may need to do one for the other side actually. And then let's just go ahead and turn off this body, and I can kind of see all the different legs. And let's turn off the standing body, which we'll add in a minute. And there we have this leg and that leg, this. Okay, so I want to make sure there's a matching one on each left and right leg. So while I'm here, and because the demand requires, I'm just going to open this with Illustrator and do the same thing we did before. Control All, Object transform, reflect. Boom. File, export as SVG use artboards, and this one's going to be, it says it's already the left leg. Oh, we already have it. It's right there. Okay, so let me come back in here. I just missed it. I was just going to reverse it. So we have this one, and then we have this one. So it's already there. So we just need to come in, and it's already on this one. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to add a new one. And it's the right one right here. These are just different options. There we go. And I'm just going to go like that. Cool. And I'm going to move it to the second position. Oh, I thought I could move this. At one point you could, so that it matches. So I'm just going to delete this one using that, just so they're in the right position matching this other. So if I click on this one, what I mean is this is the second option. If I click on this leg, this is the matching second option. I want that to be that way. That's important. And now I'm going to come in and add the other one on here, which was, let's just go ahead and add these. Boom. And it's going to go upside down because of that bone structure. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Add. You. And it's also going to go upside down. I'll show you why. Great. As long as they're opposite. Okay, cool. So let's go back to our default. Back to our default. It is the default. And I think we're good. And if we're missing something, it'll be a good opportunity to show you what we're missing when we get to that point. Fix my microphone here. Okay, so let's just make sure that hind leg has the leg up. There it is. Now, if I wanted that leg up on this other leg, we could do that. I just click here, add, and I also think it's going to be fine if I do the same position. I'm not too concerned. Just going to match that one and come over. Okay. Very good. Let's go and turn off our reference image, and that's looking good. But on this hind leg, I want to go back to the default. Cool. All right, now let's do the head. We've come this far. Let's go ahead and save our character. Double click, replace yes. Be careful if you have multiple characters there, you don't replace the wrong one. And now let's create a head. I'm going to turn back on our root reference image, and I'm going to click here. Now it's important that we use Cartoon Animator's head tool so that we have a proper working head. So I'm going to click on the head bone, and with the head bone selected, we're going to go up to this little widget up here. It says create sprite based head. I'm going to create sprite based head right there. I'm going to get this message, you won't, because I'm redoing this. I had a bug. It took me a couple hours to figure out, but I found a workaround, and you don't need to worry about that bug. They're going to fix it. So I have to hit yes, but you shouldn't have to. And I'm just going to use the 0 pose. If you were doing a 90 degree or 270 degree pose, you'd want to do it like that. Hit apply. And what it's going to do is it's going to provide this nifty little setup. But here's the important part of having this tool. It's going to save us a lot of time. Now that I've got this head selected, I'm going to go over to the sprite editor. If I click on left eye, it has all these pre-filled for us. These are the defaults. So we have this one, close, scared, stretch, happy, and I think this is extremely, exert, close. If we go to the right eye, it's the same thing. If we go to the mouth, it has all these placeholders for us, which is super helpful with this method of creating custom faces. So now all we have to do is go in and replace all these things. So if I go to the face first, I'm going to start there. I'm going to hit this head thing, and instead of adding a new one, I'm going to replace it with our face. So here's my face. Double click it. I'm going to drag it into its spot right about there. I'm going to move the root above all this so I can see where I need to put things. Now I'm going to talk on this, or click on this, not talk on this. And I'm going to shrink the head until I see where I like it. That looks good. And now that I've done that, I'm going to go over to the left eye, normal, replace, And it's gonna be my eye right. Boom. Okay. So if I turn off the root, it's down here, which I don't want. So now I'm gonna bring the root underneath all this so I can start to see. I'm gonna turn off my face so I can see where I need to put this eye. I'm gonna bring it up here. But before we get any further, let's go ahead and move our bones in their proper places. Otherwise, it's going to take us double the work. So I'm going to hit Bone Editor, move the left eye, goes right here, the right eye, the right brow, the left brow, the nose, and the mouth. Cool. I'm just going to go back into Illustrator and look at my template, turn off some of these mouths so I can see where my default mouth goes. And I'm going to turn off some of these because I didn't do a reference with it. So there's my normal mouth. It's going to go almost below the irises. And so I'm going to come in here, and now that I've moved those bones where they need to go, I'm going to turn this off. Go back into Sprite Editor and go click on mouth again, normal, replace, and that's the mouth I want right there. And I'm going to put it right about, it said, I'm going to go back and look because my reference isn't showing it. I could export another reference just to be sure, but if I take a ruler, Control R, and I go to the top, it's just dipping into the eye a little bit. So that works for me. So if I go like this, that's kind of perfect right there. And then I'm going to make sure, go back to my bone editor, that my mouth is over that. I can zoom in, Alt, left and right click. I can shrink that bone if it's too big. It's bothering me. Even that, and go smaller. Okay, so I know it's over my mouth, and that's where I want it. That's the nose position. I don't think I have a nose on this character. I don't remember. Nope, I didn't do a nose. We could add a nose, but we're not going to right now. So I'm going to zoom back out, and we're going to keep placing elements. So I'm going to go back to my Sprite Editor. Get out of the Bone Editor. Click on this bone here. Go back into my Sprite Editor. Go to the face. Click on the left eye, right eye, replace. So this is the right eye. This is the left eye. I got backwards. Got it backwards there. Okay. So with that, we have the left eye. Great. That's in its proper spot. And the right eye. And now let's go. We don't have a nose right now. That's fine. Let's go to the left brow. I actually think I have it backwards. I don't remember which one. I might have named them wrong. So they go in, and so the left brow should be that. Okay, so it is proper. They go in like that. Just wanted to make sure. And let's see where I put it on the Illustrator. Okay, so it's right above the eyes. So it's going to go here. I'm going to fix the bone position of where the left brow goes. Right here. And I'm going to make it pivot in the center. Like that. Next, we're going to go over to our right brow. I'm going to go ahead and increase these bones a little bit more, 20. And go back to my Sprite Editor. Just clicking on something. Sprite Editor. And right brow. And replace the default holder there. And it's going to be this one. I'm going to bring it over to here. And we're going to click on that bone. Go to the Bone Editor, zoom in. Left and right clicks with Alt. And we're going to pivot it right there. Okay, cool. Moving on. We've got the mouth. We've got the eyes. Let's just quickly do the eye sprites. So I'm going to click back on right eye. Sprite Editor. And let's start with the right eye. So let's do eye close. I need to see if I have the other one. So right eye closed. Not sure if it's supposed to be that small. Let's just double check. So if I come into here, turn off all those. Yeah, they are that small. Okay. And I'm just going to leave that in the middle. And then we have eye scared closed. I'm not sure if I did this one. If not, I'll go create it later. But let's just hit replace. Eye closed. Eye closed squint. Mad. Up. Alright, so it looks like I need to do a couple more eye sprites. So we'll do that in the next video. But for now, I'm just going to leave it at those two. So we have eye closed. And then we have eye normal. Let's do the same thing on the left. Eye closed. Let's go ahead and just go find that. Left closed. Right there. Move that into its place. Right there in the center. And then we do the same thing on the right. Make sure it's in the center. Okay. So we've got our eye things there, but we are not quite done. We need ears. We need different things. And so to do that, we need to go back to the bone editor and we need to add some bones. So we need to go to the face, which is right here, and we need to go add a bone. This is going to be my ear bone. So I'm going to do a small piece and then to the tip so the ear can wiggle. And then I'm going to go back to the face, move over a little bit, face, add a bone, a little bit, and I'll show you why we need to have separate pieces there. It's important to have one like this, those little small pieces for the spring bones, which I'll show you a little bit later. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the face so I can see, oh, the face was off. So I can see those ears, and that'll be our next thing. So I'm going to turn off the root reference image. Okay. So turn that off. Turn my face back on. And let's go ahead and get our ears in there. So on this one, I'm going to add a sprite. And it's going to be ear right. Right here. And I'm going to turn on my reference so I can see where that goes. That looks good. Turn off my reference. Turn off the face so I can see that this bone editor, is in the right spot, which is about down there. It's kind of the center where it can pivot. Okay. Next, we're going to go over to, let's turn the face back on to this bone. Let's add a sprite. And that's going to be ear left. Okay. Turn back on my reference so I can see what I'm doing. Move it up into place. Turn off my face so I can see and turn off my reference. And then go back to here and go to my bone editor. I'm going to move this down and then fix this. Perfect. So now that I've got that all in place, let's go ahead and save character. I'm going to save this as a new version because I don't trust the software. I had that bug and I'm just going to do that. If it does crash, the software didn't crash, there was just a bug in that, and hopefully they fixed that. I'm going to fix that left brow, move it over so it's on the edge there. Now that we've got that, let's go replace the ears, or not replace, add the other ear sprites. So I'm on the left one. I'm going to add one this time, not replace. So I'm going to add another one. And let's do left patterned. And I need that reference back on so I can see what I'm doing. Great. And then let's add one more. That's going to be left flop. And I'm going to just put that right there. Okay. Same on the right. So now I'm going to go over to the right. You can click up here and find the, oh, I need to rename these. So let's do that real quick. So go to scene and click here. Ear right, ear 1, ear R2. I should put an R because this is right. Those are just the bones, so I can know what I'm dealing with when I'm animating. Ear left, ear left 1, ear L2. Okay, cool. Let's go finish now ear right and add its additional. So I'm doing the add, don't want to replace. Let's do right tattered. Okay, and then let's do another one and right flop. Now, we could do this all in Illustrator. We wouldn't have to move anything, right? It'd be in place, and that might be worth the time. It is a little more tedious. I like this way because it's custom and you can customize all this. Now, real quick, I just saw something. See how this toe is cut off? Let me just zoom in. That might be the reference image. Let me turn it off, but I'll show you how to fix that if you ever see that. So turn that off. Okay, that was the reference image. So if we needed to fix that, it's the wireframe under the bone. So you just hit bone and it's the wireframe expand for that piece. So you just got to watch that if that happens. Okay, back to what we're doing. So reference image is off, face is back on. I'm going to go back to the scenes and go to the hip right here. I don't know why the hip disappeared. That was part of the bug, so I'm just going to go ahead and add it. The body. And I'm going to move it into place. And let's go turn the reference back on so I can see where this needs to go. And move the hip down here. Shrink it. That looks good to me. Alright, so if I hit file save, I'm going to save this character. I'm going to version B. Yes. So we have almost everything there. Let's add a couple more things. The cheek blush, and the cheek left fluff and right fluff. And then in the next video, we will go through the 3D head creation because this one's been long enough. This is just showing you the step-by-step how to drag it all in for a custom character. So let's finish it up with the cheeks. So if I come back to the head, go to the bone editor, and I'm on the face bone right here, the head bone from the hip. So if I come to the hip scene, there's the hip, there's the torso, the tail, the hind leg. What I want is this head bone right here. Okay, and so in the head we have the face bone. So there's two different ways to do this. You always want to work from the face if you want it to move with the face. And so I'm going to, instead of adding a bone from the head, I'm going to add a bone from the face that was added when we did the Reallusion's tool to add a face. So that when you modify this 360 head, it moves with it. So I'm going to use the face bone. And I go back to layer, and I can add a bone to the face. And I'm going to do this cheek right here. I'm just going to add a little holder. And then from here, I'm going to go boom, boom, escape. Click, add a bone. Boom, boom, boom. This is going to be spring bones. Click, add a bone. Boom, boom, boom. Escape, click, add a bone. And I always leave that little placeholder there. I'm actually going to fix this and do 2 bones here. Add a bone because I've selected it, click, escape. Now let's turn off the face. And, well, actually let's bring the sprite in. So I'm going to click on the root bone here. Go back to scene. Let's name this cheek fluff. This is the left side. Okay, I'm just going to leave all those default. Just call it cheek fluff L1. Okay. And then let's add a sprite to that bone. Add. So it's a matter of just adding sprites to bones and then connecting the bones to the right bones. And so we're cheek left. Move it into place. And I'm going to just move this a little. Whoops. I moved the sprite. I need to go to the bone editor and move the bone. But by doing so, I need to see, I'm going to undo that. I think it'll be okay for now. And in the next session, we'll do spring bones as well and show you why I'm adding up these bones on the ears. I'll add bones to these, the hair mane. I'll add bones to different pieces that I want to fluff around and move with their spring bones. In fact, I'm going to add one more right here. So I'm going to click this, add a bone. Let's go to layer and turn off my reference image so I know what I'm working with. Go back to here. Go back to my cheek fluff, click on this bone, add a bone, boom, 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 escape. So now that I have all those bones. Let's do the same on the right side. So let's go ahead and click on our face bone, add a bone, turn on our reference image, face bone, go to the face, click, add a bone, cheek, and then a little placeholder, and then we've got bada bing, escape. We've got add a bone, bada boom. I should do that a little bit further, so I'm going to click and drag this bone and go about there. Try to keep it consistent. I did a little bit different than I did here. I did the star. In fact, you could hit this and hit delete and just start over. That's what I'm going to do because I did this wrong. Click on that bone I added, add a bone, placeholder bone, and then let's just start right here. Escape, click, add a bone, 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 escape. So now that I've got these bones, I'm going to go ahead and add the sprite. So I'm going to click the root bone there, sprite editor, add cheek fluff right. And in the next video, you're going to see how we set up the spring bones. So let's put this in place, and then we'll just do a summary and recap everything we've just done. Drag this into place here. It's a little big. That's why it's not fitting right. That's better. I'm liking that position. The reason this is gray is because it's not touching the sprite. And so we need to fix that and bring it in. And that means we're going to have to go fix everything. But let's do that until it's yellow. So now that it's yellow, let's see if that's yellow as well. So we're going to come bring it in. And yellow means it's on the sprite. So I'm going to bring this back. And then I'm going to bring this back. This back. Let's just do it this way. Put this here. And let's grab you. And let's grab you. I'm just moving things back using the root bones to move them all. Boom. All right, that's better. Files, save character. I'm going to go ahead and sort by details and date. And so I know which one I need to replace. And it's this one. Okay. And there we have our kitten character. Let's zoom out. And let's go ahead and click on some of these bones. Let's get out of the bone editor, go to the body, click on the sprite editor, and just kind of set it up so he looks nice. In fact, let's turn off. Now that we've got everything in place, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this sprite here. So I'm just going to delete the reference sprite. So we don't need it anymore. It's just there in the way. And now that that's deleted, we have ourselves here a cute workable kitty. So I'm going to save character. Yes. All right, now that I've saved it, I'm going to preview this, and this is the last step until video 2, which I'll release as soon as I'm done in the next few hours. But now we can come in and hit preview. We've got our cute little tail here. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. We've got the legs here, which we'll use in animation with its paws. Okay. And we could, in fact, I might just do that. Add a little second bone in that leg so it's a little bendy. So let's do that. I'm going to unpreview really quick, just kind of teach you another thing. So we're going back to the bone editor. And I'm going to move this bone here. Zoom in, double click, or not double click, left and right click, I should say. Click that, add a bone, move it to here. So there's one problem with this. We had a sprite attached to this. We've got to go to the sprite editor. And we've got to remove these two. The hind paw are up and the hind paw are. So delete. Give it a second here. And delete. And let's just add them back on this bone. So this is why it's important to do your bones first, but I didn't realize I want to be wiggling that as much as I do now. And so we are the right one. Okay. That looks pretty good to me. And then let's add another one. And it was this guy. I'm going to put it here. Okay. Back to the default. So now if I go file, save character, we've got those added. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, just so I have it. Alt, as soon as it saves, Alt left click. It's this one here. So I'm going to drag this bone up. That's not the bone. Undo. I need to be in the bone editor. Drag this bone up. You'll get used to it, but this happens. And then add a bone, bada bing, click, escape, come here, go to the sprite editor, and then come to this bone and re-add that sprite for this side, paw left. And while I'm here, I'm going to make sure I add the other one, the paw up, but on the other side. Now I don't see it here, so I'm just going to quickly go into Illustrator. Gonna find the paw up, this guy. There's the folder. I'm going to object transform reflect. Okay, add it. It's gonna be paw left up and export it. Put it here, and then you just gotta go move it because it puts it in the SVG folder. Let's view sort by date modified. There it is. Just dragging it to the right spot. And now I can go back and add that. Like I did the other side. So we have one on each side. Perfect. Okay. Now with that, I'm going to zoom out. Alt, click left and right. File, save character. Let's name this version E. You see, actually D. It's just my OCD. And now, before we end this video, we're going to come back to the stage mode. Here's our character, and if we wanted to, we'll do this again later when we fix the 360 head. So we're going to go into the custom folder, actor, animals. I'm going to do it in Kitten's kawaii. I'm going to make sure it's selected, otherwise I'll save the scene. Save. Kitten. Woohoo. Oh, I put it in freebone, didn't it? Yeah, there it is. So when it's a freebone, it automatically puts it in freebone. So I'm just going to go like this, right click, and capture thumbnail. Boom. There it is, and that's how you save it. All right, look forward to seeing the next video where we do the 360 head, and then after that, we'll start animating. See you then.